I got to ask our friend, Justin Wolfers, professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. All right, Justin, you got to make this make sense for people. We got Trump imposing new tariffs on China. How significant is this? Are we really back here again?
I can't help anyone make sense of this, mate. This is nonsense. And yes, you've seen this movie before. Adding 100% tariff to our existing 30% tariff puts us at 130% tariff. And at that point, you may as well just say 11 bazillion. That just says we're not going to send boats back and forward. There'll be no trade with China. And let me tell you, there's two sets of countries that'll hurt, the United States and China. You can't turn a big boat like the American economy round just overnight because the president's feeling bad about himself. So, look, the markets are reacting that strongly because they think this is very bad news. And the other thing to realize is, in fact, Trump's tariff threat today, there's roughly a 50-50 chance that the Supreme Court rules the whole thing illegal and unconstitutional in a few weeks' time. And so the markets reacted that negatively, even though there's a 50% chance that the president won't be able to follow through.
Well, talk to me about, for some people who don't have any idea what the significance of a rare earth element might mean. We've heard this term time and again. It's what Trump is pointing to, that China has new export controls on. What does it mean when it comes to global trade, these rare earth elements?
I've got to tell you my most important qualification. My grandma was a geologist, Laura, but I did terrible in high school chemistry. But as an economist, I can tell you that there's a couple of minerals out there, often used in strong magnets. They're used in computers, they're used in cell phones, they're used in drones, they're used in electric vehicles, they're used in defense equipment. So throughout large tracts, particularly of manufacturing, and if you don't have them, you can't do business. Now, they're called rare earth minerals. They're not actually that rare, but they're really hard to get. They're really dirty to get. They're really expensive to get. And most of them are being gotten by the Chinese at the moment. If China cuts us off on the rare earth minerals, and they haven't said they'd do that yet, if they were, that would cause a bunch of the factories near me. I live in Michigan. A bunch of the car factories would probably have to shut down within a few weeks, and you'd see ripple effects through the rest of the economy. So I liked it back when we didn't have to know what rare earth minerals were, that we could just buy them and they'd happily sell them. But that's not the world we're in right now.
So do you expect some whiplash at some point in time where Trump once again reverses course on China with this?
I mean, he's got one of two choices. He either plays the taco card, Trump always chickens out, or he plunges the US economy into a recession. I don't know which one he's going to do, but I think there's something more fundamental here, Laura. 6 months ago, you might have thought, well, I've got a good business. We have to rely on China for some inputs. Maybe there'll be the occasional disruption from Washington, but it's a good business. I'm going to keep going. So far, we're not even at the end of the first Trump administration, and he's effectively turned the boats around twice. And so even if he sits down and has a meeting and says everything's better again in 2 weeks' time, this feels a lot like my middle school romance life, where, you know, you'd be on with someone 1 week and you'd be off the next. And eventually they'd understand that you weren't to be trusted, and they'd go and form a different and hopefully more lasting relationship elsewhere. And so I think that American businesses that are reliant on China, Laura, this is very serious.
Well, then don't make middle school jokes, Justin.
American businesses reliant on China can't forget the fact that this now has happened twice within a year. So for the next 3 years, there's going to be this constant threat over the head of any American business that does rely on having reliable access to trade with other countries.
Well, the president of the Yale Budget Lab, Natasha Sarin, wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. I'm sure you've seen it. She argues the AI boom is masking some real problems with the economy, writing, quote, "Situation is worse than having all your economic eggs in one basket. It's closer to putting all your eggs in one basket and stomping on all the other baskets." How serious is this concern that AI is creating this mirage in the economy?
Right, so let me just explain what it is Natasha's worried about there. The economic data right now don't look too bad. They're not great, but they're not terrible. But if that was just one economy, you'd feel okay about it. But in fact, the US is two economies. There's an enormous AI boom going on, huge investments, particularly in data centers. If you took that out of the numbers and you just looked at the non-AI parts of the economy, it's basically flatlining. We're on the cusp of a non-AI recession. So, the administration gets to say the economy's doing okay despite all our policies and, because of our policies, but actually it's despite their policies. We don't know if the AI boom will continue. I'm not saying it's good or bad. That AI boom doesn't create a lot of jobs, because if you've ever gone inside a data center, you don't see a lot of workers. What you see is a lot of machines. So I'm a little worried about, I think there's every reason to be worried about what the administration's doing to this economy. And we are, in some sense, lucky to be held up by AI right now.
Well, students are lucky to have you as their professor. Lucky to have you tonight. Justin Wolfers, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lara.